got stuff that dates back to literally the early 1900s.
Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools in North Carolina has a growing list of 125 facilities projects that need to be completed.
One of the biggest things we struggle with is the HVAC, being able to control that on days when you'd think the air would be on and it all of a sudden is 90 degrees and no air.
Maintaining schools' facilities is a race against time and nature that most school districts deal with. Like Charlotte-Mecklenburg or CMS, districts often resort to the use of portable classrooms as current facilities fail to meet growing needs, a short-term, long-term solution for classroom space.
Portable classrooms are notoriously the worst when it comes to things like air quality.
Rachel Hodgson, president and CEO of the International Well Building Institute, has been working to draw attention to what she calls a national crisis when it comes to the buildings students and staff spend most of their time in.
Buildings are a prescription for public health. Schools are a particular kind of patient.
The issue was highlighted during the 2023 Well Building Conference in Washington, D.C.
Schools have to be taken more seriously if you want your kids to learn.
4 former U.S. Surgeon Generals pointed to the role the pandemic played in getting a critical mass of leaders to pay more attention to the health of school buildings.
This was well brought to the forefront emergently during COVID, when we found out that the filtration systems didn't work well.
Many of our schools suffer from poor, really unacceptable air quality. And that has a whole host of implications. Imagine how much more continuity of education we would have if teachers and students weren't chronically suffering from cold, from the flu, from RSV, and from COVID-19.
But the price tag to modernize is hefty. And for Charlotte and other communities, public funds don't come close to covering the cost of fully modernizing schools.
The federal government doesn't really provide any funding at all for capital needs for schools, and the state of North Carolina, for example, has not issued a bond since the late 1990s.
We are underinvesting in our schools to the rate of $85 billion a year. That's up 85% from 5 years ago. Every year that we delay on bringing our schools into a state of good repair, that tab is going to get larger.
Among the school districts able to modernize, many rely on the bond referendum, when taxpayers vote to decide whether their cities or towns will foot the bill of school capital plans.
It's just not happening consistently enough across the country, and many districts simply can't afford to tax themselves more to undertake these repairs.
You can see in the days before air conditioning, you would have had a transom window and a vent down below to allow the air to circulate.
Hodgson says oftentimes these initiatives fail because many don't see the link between crumbling infrastructure and the health of the people who use the buildings regularly, like neglecting to replace lead-lined water pipes.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing, largely because they know if they find a problem, they can't afford to fix it. Lead will bioaccumulate in a child's system. It means that these kids will be plagued by learning issues and by health issues in many instances, potentially for the rest of their lives.
In November 2023, residents of the CMS district voted to approve its $2.5 billion bond referendum, which will fund 30 out of its 125 facilities improvement projects.
We're fortunate to be in a community that's in a position to support its schools and that makes the choice to support its schools, but not everybody has the same sort of advantages that Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools has.
CMS officials are also keeping track of the difference new school buildings are making to better understand why they're seeing improvements in academic performance.
We've seen decreased absenteeism. We're seeing, fewer staff illnesses, so more contact hours has been one thing. We've seen improvements in the standardized testing at those schools as well.
In the age of school shootings, CMS is designing campuses with safety and mental health in mind. East Mecklenburg High School will go from 9 buildings to 3. A previous bond initiative led to the consolidation of West Charlotte High School from 16 buildings to 1.
Having those single points of entry, creating fewer opportunities for kids to just wander on and off campus or in between buildings, or even not our students.
As a result, CMS has seen a significant decrease in guns in its 184 schools.
All of that improves the general feeling of safety on the campus.
And when students feel safe, they're able to learn better. But Hodgson says the burden to overhaul and modernize schools should be shared beyond individual districts.
We have to tell the federal government that paying less than 1% of annual school facilities maintenance, improvement, and rebuilding is pathetic.
Our kiddos, when they walk in, the first thing that hits them when they enter the building, being an open space or indoor treehouse, the lights, the books, it just feels like a great, fun place to learn.
John Lewis Elementary School reopened in 2021. It is one of the latest schools in the District of Columbia public school system to be modernized. It's part of an ongoing effort, with more than half of the district's 117 schools updated over the past 3 decades.
Every project strove to create a better, healthier, more sustainable learning environment. And that, in many ways, culminated with the building that we're standing in right now.
The building's architects say a healthier structure was their focus, from filtered water fountains to bringing in more light.
Access to natural light throughout the course of the day can help you sleep better at night, can help you focus better during the day. There's been research that shows that access to daylight improves test scores.
And even though the building was designed before the pandemic, fresh air was a major focus.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline. This school has better air quality than almost any other school in the DCPS portfolio.
Another feature setting John Lewis Elementary apart is the acoustic control. Felt panels like these are seen throughout the building.
Teachers miss an average of 2 days a year because of vocal strain. That means that students, particularly if they are hearing impaired, have a much harder time hearing their teachers. So those are kids who oftentimes are going to get lost in the system. They fall behind and they can't catch up.
Washington, D.C. is a city with its fair share of financial turmoil, but as Rachel Hodgson, CEO of the International Well Building Institute, points out, even in the midst of uncertainty, big changes can be made.
What DC has is a level of awareness about the impact that school facilities can have on learning outcomes. And that awareness dates back to parent advocacy. Mary Filardo was one of the originals.
In the 1980s, Mary Filardo was a parent of school-aged children in DC and a home contractor.
This is the start of it. This is 1995.
I was in a family that did construction. And I was like, no, you can plan this, you can do it, you can make it happen. This should not be insurmountable.
It took grassroots advocacy. The parents came up with a modernization plan, which was the beginning of the 21st Century School Fund. Other parents formed organizations too, and they all teamed up to improve the schools.
When you come as a block, and that's across the city, across demographics, then they pay attention to you. So parents are and can be very crucial to the development of the school buildings and the education that will happen in this city.
Finding the money to do the work took creativity.
This whole idea that if we build schools that are healthy and safe and sustainable, that somehow it will cost us more is a total myth. In fact, green schools can save hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on utility and maintenance expenses. The challenge is upfront investment of capital. Where does it come from?
Without government funds, these parent advocates found other ways to fund their modernization plan.
We did a public-private development partnership. So we took a tiny little piece of city land, less than 2 acres, and divided it in half. And one half of it became a 211-unit apartment building.
The other half became a school.
It was the first new school in Washington, D.C. in over a generation. The notion was that we're going to set a standard.
Eventually, D.C.'s City Council created a funding stream for a continuous modernization plan, a commercial property transfer tax. Each city, state, town is different, but one constant remains: healthy schools help a community thrive.
Since they've come in the building, that enrollment has significantly increased. So this year, I believe it's about 20% higher.
Carr and Falardo stress there's still much work to do to bring true equity to D.C. schools. But they have a roadmap forward and are expanding the vision.
We need the whole family at the table. We need the federal, state, and local. If we're going to address this $85 billion a year gap in school infrastructure spending.
For the first time ever, the U.S. Department of Education is establishing a National Center for School Infrastructure, an effort to support states and territories as they work to improve school facilities, with the goal of creating healthier, safer, and more inspiring school environments.
The 21st Century School Fund is the lead organization working on technical assistance to high-need school districts and to the states.
Based at the University of California, Berkeley's Institute for Urban and Regional Development, the new center is a consortium of several organizations. The focus is data collection to support school modernization efforts across the country.
This is how many classrooms, are in poor condition. This is how many bathrooms, have not working toilets or other kinds of indicators.
While Falardo's children never got to go to school in modern, healthy buildings, her grandkids are reaping the benefits. How does it feel to see the buildings that your grandchildren get to go to?
I mean, it's a huge relief. It doesn't matter your neighborhood. You are entitled to a modern school building that's healthy, that's safe, that's got, educationally inspiring. I don't think it should just be adequate. I think it should be inspiring educationally, right?
It's a hard-fought journey for healthier buildings that hopefully more kids across the country will eventually benefit from. Erin Billups, Spectrum News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest news and weather updates every 10 minutes and more. We'll see you then.